And we're back here on the Hash with Hatfield on our Virginia Beach Sports YouTube channel, also streaming on our Twitter page and X at 757 Sports Talk and VirginiaPreps.com, as well as on Facebook. Matt Hatfield here, pleased to be joined by the head football coach of the reigning two-time state champion Eagles out of Freedom High School in Woodbridge. What a performance they put on last Saturday up at UVA in Charlottesville, defeating Highland Springs, last year's Class 5 state champ, by a count of 42-34 in a whale of a ball game. We say hello and congrats to Coach Darryl Overton. It's been less than a week, Coach, but back-to-back, it's got to be sweet. That's the goal. That's the mission. You guys accomplished it, and here you are basking in the glory a few days later after the state championship. How's it felt this week? And take me through the whirlwind of a week you've had.
Oh, man, like you said, obviously feels good. I really probably didn't get to, enjoy it until, I'll probably say Sunday at like 4:30, you know what I mean? Because in the moment, you're like the leader, so you worried about getting to the bus on time, getting the food, getting in and out the locker room, all those things, man. But, again, it feels good. It feels great, like you said, for the guys, for the coaches, everything, man. Again, you achieve your goal that you set out. Again, like I said, probably didn't dawn on me till Sunday.
Was there a point when you laid the head down on the pillow late Saturday night or woke up Sunday and you said, wow, it's done, back-to-back, goal accomplished, state championship again? What was the point where you kind of pinched yourself and said, all right, I can exhale? Because there is so much pressure, all you football coaches, your staff, your players, especially when you have a program like yours at Freedom. And there's been a lot of great programs here that have accomplished either the back-to-back or won multiple championships. You guys help us now in Class 6. You look at Maury in Class 5, getting some revenge against Stonebridge. Phoebus has won 3 in a row. We had Riverheads win 7 straight, but there's a lot of good programs across the entire state. Liberty Christian was undefeated. I think everybody that won it except the Class 1 champ in Galax was unblemished here. Take me through just kind of the point where you kind of said, all right, now I can relax, if you will. That relax word is, as I think Aaron Rodgers once said.
Truthfully, it really wasn't until, the last pass they completed and the young man, fell in bounds on the ground to catch it. Then you're like, all right, it's truly over. And you kind of like, all right, we won. So again, probably the same as everybody else. It was that moment. Up until then, you can't ever relax. Again, anything is possible in this game that we play, we love, we coach. So same moment, once, number 19 caught that pass in bounds and there's no more timeouts, no opportunity to get out of bounds. I was able to exhale and say, it's done.
Certainly going into the 2023 season, after you had the end of the 2022 year, you beat Madison rather impressively to win the state championship at Old Dominion, and you had a lot of those components back. Certainly the likes of your quarterback and Tristan Evans, who we'll get to, and Jeffrey Overton Jr. and Carlton Juju Preston, who we thought would not be with you, came back, and some other great receivers, defensive standouts as well, for which I think get a little bit not enough recognition and just due, which hopefully we can do during this podcast. But you go into the new season. What was your feeling as far as expectation level? Certainly you want to go win it again, but you want to have this team distinguish itself from the 2022 team. What was sort of the message and discussions you had amongst your coaching staff and your players as you geared up for the summertime and practice in August and that first game?
Well, truthfully, like you said, just a culture habit. It's not about trying to distinguish yourself from last year's team. It's about, you got to be the best version of you for this year. And some of the guys, the message was, obviously you're good enough to play at Freedom High School. Now you got to start working on the best version of yourself, and, we'll become a better team. We had some guys that had to step in on the offensive line and fill spots. We had to, guys step in for Kelly Timone, step in where TJ Bush was. Big Juju had to play defense. Jakai Hughes stepped into a full-time role for Kendall Bannister. And then, Maui was able to step in at guard. So the people that we replaced, they're guys that stepped in. We had to find out what we had. And then we have a good team returning. I felt it was important that we played good teams early to kind of make us have to, be dialed up, lock into what we're trying to achieve and, do things right football-wise. So, scrimmaging, Louisa, and then, playing Verona, playing DeMatha, scrimmaging a Dunbar, who won the DC championship, playing Coolidge, who won the, gravy part of the DC championship. So we tried to make sure we challenged ourselves early as a program, as a team, so that we had to do things right.
Well, let's talk about that schedule there because you go into the season, it's a different schedule than your 2022 team that won the championship, went undefeated, and set a Virginia high school league record for most points in the season. So certainly any discussions about, greatest teams, that has to include that when you set a record like that. But you didn't play Coolidge. You had Verona, which was a game you were sort of cruising, and I watched them the week before against Indian River, 13-0 shutout, and the game got a little close. The score could be deceiving, but they got good athletes, and they fought back, and your kids answered the call. You have that break because you have the DeMatha game where it starts, it stops, it starts up again. Take me through that whole, because there's a lot of talk in the DMV area, Woodbridge up to DC, about public, private, high school. Did you kind of have to try to tone some of that down with all the chatter, the outside noise, which I'm sure is always the challenge for you all as coaches, to keep everybody not distracted from social media, all the discussion, who's better, whatnot, because you don't want to lose sight of the bigger picture, right? How'd you kind of handle that whole process and that little time frame, if you will?
Well, like you said, it was a different situation because, the game came about from us scrimmaging 2 years ago. Me and Coach McGregor got a good relationship, so it came from a good place. This year we was able to make it a game, and then, like you said, you in it. You're having success Friday night. Then you get the storm, and then you're like excited about the opportunity. Come back Saturday, you start off well, offensively, defensively, and you take the lead. And then you're right back. So there's a lot of peaks and valleys as far as emotionally for us. I do believe, like you said, it's always a misconception that, everybody at a private school is better than everybody at a public school. And just that's not true. Every player at a private school is, better, or, in some ways they're getting better opportunities. So just, show people in my community, our school, that's, you can do everything you want to do right here. So that was important for us. Win, lose, or draw from a competitive standpoint. Again, just blessed that we was able to, be able to be competitive and do the things that we do well and be successful. But again, like you said, we feel like it's a missed opportunity, for all people involved, us, my players, everybody.
How do the kids feel about the whole thing? Because you had a little bit of a break there. You didn't play for about a good solid, 2 weeks or so?
Well, we actually just had 1 week of bye. Well,
Okay,
like you
1
said,
week.
yeah, we had 1 week off of bye, and then we played Garfield. So again, like you said, you're right, 2 weeks because we didn't play a full game, but we still were practicing and preparing. So we end up having a bye the very next week, and then having to play Garfield after that. So again, probably a little bit of a blessing from a standpoint where you didn't play, but we would have much rather had the opportunity to finish because we still practiced all week, preparing to play the game.
As you go through the Cardinal district schedule and teams that you were, slated to play as far as in your area, you beat the Garfields, the Forest Parks, a bunch of these teams are scrolling across our ticker here, Woodbridge, so forth. You did have another game at the end of the year, St. Michael, the Archangel, which I know you talked about in your post-game pressure. Pretty cool to have that at the end of the year as sort of a springboard towards the postseason. What were you finding out that was different about this team? You mentioned you don't have to distinguish this team from the 2022 team. What were you finding out that was unique or different about this brand of team as you were gearing up for the playoffs as opposed to last year and other Freedom teams you've had?
Well, again, I thought this year, we were going to be a little bit more physical up front on the offensive line because we returned so many guys. Also, just defensively, I was excited, where all four linebackers 2022 were first-time starters. Coming into this year, they're second-year starters. So I think you saw a huge jump in experience and play for them. And then, like you said, on offense, again, all the skill guys are bigger, faster, stronger. You come back, you come back with your quarterback that's been there, done that, knows everything. So, again, it's just all the parts, were there to continue to be successful. It allowed us to be a lot more diverse offensively because everybody had done it. So you could add more wrinkles and stuff. You could add in little nuances and didn't have to worry about it being a major setback.
Certainly, you begin the playoff journey and you play some teams during that run that you're familiar with again. The Colonial Forge game in the second round, and there's a little bit of a relationship there. Coach Brown, of course, pretty well. So as you get ready for the region championship and you've got Battlefield and their defense is doing what they're doing, was there much you had to say to this group? Because you've heard about, is there a defense that can maybe contain your offense and what you do on offense? motivation wise, is this pretty easy with this group? They kind of were already self motivated, or did you have to do some button pushing if you would to get them fired up to play?
Well, always some button pushing to do, but in the day of social media and Twitter, kids gonna find a way to give your kids motivation. Again, like you said, Battlefield had his own motivation. They were the last team we had lost to. There was a lot of that, chatter and banter out there. So again, we that game kind of had its own story behind it. The guys, I knew they was going to be up for it, ready to go. Again, because last time we faced that opponent, we had lost. So we knew that was going to work in our favor. I think you saw that. Again, we didn't feel like, not to Coach Hatfield's fault. He inherited the schedule that they hadn't played. The games that we had played. We knew what we had. We knew the speed that we needed to play at based on our schedule. So again, that game was easy to get up for. Like you said, the guys knew what was at stake. On top of our local newspaper, I mean, they refused to write about us up until now. All they wrote about was Battlefield. So, we had already been taking that into account and pretty personal.
Well, and you have multiple players of the year on your offense, and Tristan Evans Trujillo. Is that how you say the last? I think it's the last part is Trujillo. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Jeff Overton Jr., your nephew, the running back, both are players of the year, and they're both setting records. Tristan set the quarterback touchdown career pass record in the state semifinal game against Madison, who was a rematch of last year's championship game. Jeff is now closing on the Prince William County rushing record. So I hear it a lot, and I'm sure you do as a coach, is that, wow, fans out there, I want to run what Freedom runs on offense. They spread it out. They do this, they do that. It's not that simple. You guys make it look easy as far as how you execute and the way it functions. So without giving away all the secrets to success, keys to it, what's the biggest thing that you've emphasized to your assistant coaches? Because you not only, you got to coach kids, coach your assistant coaches, and they run what you run. What's the biggest point of emphasis in having the success you do on offense to not have a let up? Because what astonishes me most is not that you set the single season scoring record, not that you have these individuals making great records, but you have everybody eating. You had, as I mentioned in our NFHS broadcast with Andy Hayes last weekend, I think you have 5 different guys that account for over 200 catches, which speaks to how you spread the wealth. So they can't key on just Overton. You got Juju Preston, you got Cam Courtney, you got Aaron Dunk, all these guys. But what's the biggest? The consistency. You don't have a let up. You've scored 35 plus in every game, coach. How do you not have a drop off, regardless of who you play? Great, good, not so good, in between. How do you keep that level of consistency and maintain that?
Well, again, football always starts with blocking and tackling. You know what I mean? And you can run whatever offense you want. You got to be able to block. So, again, what our guys are able to do up front, our O-line coaches, Chris Davis, Coach Wheeler, that's the foundation of everything we do. Being able to block multiple fronts. We don't change our blocking scheme every week. We have our rules for whatever we run, and if it worked this week, it worked. If not, we throw it out and we move on to something else. So that's allowed us to have continued success. Again, then, you return, our quarterback play is, phenomenal. When you got a guy that's been there, that knows it, like the coach, that you can trust to make good decisions regardless of records, regardless of, all the individual guys we got that I'm sure, want the ball all the time. Having a quarterback, a trigger guy that you can trust to do the right things in the offense, it also allows me to be aggressive in my play calling. Again, I don't have to worry about him doing dumb things, turning the ball over, making bad decisions based on, anything but the football side. And then, of course, like you said, just figuring out, what your skill guys do best and figuring out ways to get the ball to do what they do best. I think, we were able to do that at a high level. But regardless of having good guys, the individual work that goes into it with the quarterback, with the receivers, from the position coaches. Like you said, when you're playing against teams in the state championship, Highland Springs that's just as talented as you, all those things go into it. Just looking at the one-hand catch, Juju had, I remember that week us working on that, Coach Brendan working on that, running the line and just catching the ball with one hand. And if you pay attention, they actually do it as well in a pregame. So, it's a lot of moving parts, but being able to block up front And then, like you said, man, we was blessed. Our quarterback had a lot of experience considering he had to play. He was a freshman when Davis was hurt, and then, doing last year again. So there's a lot of trust there, and we can get things done. And he kind of understands, through his own football IQ and my understanding what we're trying to get done. There's times where he has to change the blocking based on the front. So, that's stuff that, you wouldn't know if you weren't a part of the process. But again, it allows us to be multiple. And the other thing is having unselfish guys. All those guys are unselfish. Even though they're competitors, they all want the ball. They all want to do things. They're all willing to do whatever it is necessary to win.
And speaking of that one-handed catch, there it is for folks who didn't see it. What a great shot by our photographer there, Ray Williams, at the game that's up on Virginia Preps. They can check out the entire photo gallery, including not just that, but also Jeff Overton Jr. hurdling folks, as you see that there. I take myself out of the picture for a second. But you can see some of those great pictures he got. And mentioned we saw Coach Overton a little while ago. There's the nephew, and then there's Coach Overton as they got the trophy later. But I want to go back to we'll get to that one-handed catch and the plays that both Preston and Overton made. I've said this early in the broadcast, Coach, during the game, and you're so right about the blocking and tackling, because Walter Hughes, who's listed, I think, at 6'2", 270, he looks a whole heck of a lot bigger than that, by the way, according to the roster booklet we were given. I mean, he was mauling guys up front, and we look at Freedom, and we say they're throwing the ball. They have so many playmakers are scoring. But you ran on the Highland Springs defense. It was the most points they've given up in 10 years for over 400 yards in the game. And certainly Jeffrey Overton Jr., who's a special talent, was a big part of that. But you had other guys carry the football. In addition to him, your quarterback, Tristan Evans. You also had Cam Courtney. But the physicality part is a very, very big deal to all of that. Are you not hearing me, Coach? Did you lose me? Then you're pointing up here. If you lost some volume here. I don't know if you lost me here. Oh, we unmuted you. Let's see if are you muted? There you go. Hold on here. See if we got let's see here. We lost some volume. Let's see if Coach is back here for some reason. We lost him on the hang tight here. I don't know if he's got me or not. Hang on.
Absolutely. Like you said, being able to block, man, and run the football is always a plus. Again, if you can run the ball, again, it allows you to be aggressive, because, at any time you get hand the ball to one of those guys and get 4 or 5 yards. Like you said, Walter and those guys, Big Juju, Bussy, Jonah, Maui, they were dominant Saturday in the game at all times. So, again, it can't be said enough. Again, you can do all the flash around it. Being able to block is what ultimately the game going to come down to.
How do you keep everybody's ego in check? Because you have a quarterback who's now the all-time touchdown pass record holder. But if he walked around Woodbridge, he's probably well known. But he walks around the state. He's not a big ballyhooed recruit. We can talk about his recruiting in a second as far as any schools in the picture with him. But he's been very efficient. He's added elements to his own game. You got a receiver going to Clemson, and one day he can be your go-to guy. One day he can be just another guy. Jeff Overton can run for 200, 300 plus, or you can go a game where he doesn't touch the ball. I mean, you have so many weapons, and it'd be easy to say, let's be selfish, want more. How have they all bought in and not gotten away from the team concept and try to make it bigger than them? Has that at all been a challenge for you, or did you nip it right away?
Well, I mean, I don't want to say something like I nipped it, like I had to yell at them. They're all competitors, so everybody's going to want to affect the outcome. The good thing with most of those guys, besides Tristan, is they play defense. So they get an opportunity to affect the game in other ways. Now, the receivers always joke amongst each other, who got how many touchdowns. Jeff, luckily, is the type of running back. He can affect the game, whether he's running or catching passes, because really he usually only, got, 10 to 14 carries a game. So, he's not selfish, but then again, he can also catch passes. And then again, like you said, everybody is a threat is what allows us to be very good. And I think they realize that themselves. It's not an ego check thing, because they all have their days, as you would expect as competitors, but they keep the main thing in sight. You know what I mean? So, again, there's games where guys get frustrated. They want the touchdown, or they rather, do this or do that. But they keep the main thing in sight, the main goal. So that shows a lot of maturity. So, again, it really is not a matter of me getting them in check by having to yell at them. It's them coming together as a group and understanding whatever we got to do to win the game. we're willing to do. And they definitely showed that Saturday.
All right, be honest with me, Coach. A few more minutes, we'll let you run. We appreciate you coming on for this edition of On the Hash with Hatfield. Let me ask you as far as we lost you again here a second. Hold on one, Coach. We'll get this figured out. All right, we've got Coach Overton back having some technical difficulties, but we appreciate him for a few more minutes here. Be honest with me now, Coach. Beginning of the year, we saw Freedom and Highland Springs be on the same side of the bracket, state semifinals. They changed it. The classification, the regions, I should say, got together and changed it. How much did it kind of pique your interest, your guys, your staff, as far as, all right, they're defending state champs, we're defending state champs. We might settle this thing at UVA now for the championship as opposed to the semifinal round. And you know what a great program Lauren Johnson has. And this is nothing against Madison, Battlefield, other great teams around Nova, South County, fill in the blank, like Braddock, those schools. But you knew this was going to be kind of the ultimate measure, knowing what they've done, what your team has done, and kind of best versus best, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's something I refused to acknowledge until we got there. Even the week before, my AD, people in my school, my parents kept asking me about accommodations and arrangements for the state championship, and I just refused to make any until we win the first game. So, it piques your interest as a competitor, what everybody perceives as the two best teams, but you got to prove that too. And I'm sure Lake Braddock, Thomasdale, Manchester, Battlefield, Colonial Forwards weren't ready to concede that we were the two best teams. So, obviously as a competitor, you look at it, you say, coaches, you talk about it. But again, you can't forget what happened in between then and there.
For sure. Now, you go into this game. It's funny. Our prediction was 35-27. It was almost right on the button there. It ended up being that for three quarters. You ended up winning it 42-34. Anything in the game at all surprised you as far as what played out? And you had to be super thrilled with what your defensive guys did as Highland Springs was coming back. You had some key plays throughout this game. Shakai Jackson Hughes with a big pick six. Cam Courtney had a big pick. You got some timely stops, and you needed knowing that would be crucial, having so many guys going both ways, right?
Always. And the thing is, like you said, I felt like we were being dominant on defense. They got a punt return, and then they got, the quarterback scramble. They got the block punt. So I felt like the kicking game let us down more than the defense. I was actually impressed with the defense and how well we were able to stop the run for almost the entire game. Again, I felt like watching film from Highland Springs before, that in this game they would run the quarterback more, and they did. So this week during practice, we had a separate scout book for quarterback run plays, and it ended up being, what ended up happening. So, I was very impressed with the defense. Nothing that I didn't suspect. I knew we would have success on offense. It's just a matter of, like you said, how the defense is going to hold up, and we always try to start fast no matter what.
264 yards and 2 touchdowns on 31 carries for Jeff Overton, the hurdle. Has this young fella done anything to impress you yet this year? Because I know you all have a high standard. You, his dad, he's starting to reach a new territory now, Coach.
Yeah, man, like you said, he's impressive every time out. Again, another kid that does it without a lot of nonsense, does what you ask him, has a good attitude 90% of the time. And again, like you said, we joked about it, during the Thanksgiving holidays, man. He's probably the best combination of all of us. What I had, Jeff had, Howard, Dion had. He's probably all of it, combined.
Well, it's funny, in the booth, we thought it was him at first, and then the stat sheet told us it was Cam that threw the pass, and then he told us in the press conference, both of them came, no, it was Jeff that threw. It wasn't the prettiest of spirals, but hey, he got the job done. He found Carlton Juju Preston on the play, and I imagine that was sitting in the bag for you all year long, wasn't it? You had something dialed up where, you win this game, you score 40-plus points, and the all-time touchdown pass record holder, which you can talk about Tristan here in a second, who also made some key plays to begin the game, some with his feet, did not throw a touchdown pass. So the irony of how you won this game is fascinating to me, that you did it without having to throw a touchdown pass. You ran for 400-plus. You were physical on the springers. And, you said something I thought, too, in the postgame press that was so true. Highland Springs always seems to have as many, if not more, athletes than everybody else, but you guys are able to match them even without the depth in terms of number of bodies, the quantity that they have. You had the quality, and they came through when they needed it.
Yeah, and like you said, it's, again, man, part of, being unselfish and us willing to win how we have to. The crazy thing is the week before, Jeff threw one of the ugliest passes I've ever seen in my life versus Madison. We practiced it more this week, but you was there. If his daddy can win a state championship playing quarterback, as terrible he was at throwing, we okay taking a couple of chances with Jeff throwing the football. And like you said, it's just really us being in that defense. When Tristan was in, they were laying back, playing off, kind of not letting us get behind them. You know what I mean? Trying to make us slow walk the ball down the field. When we got in our monster set, the corners came up, played press. As I said, again, that's just not realistic to think you're going to be able to do versus those guys. Had they done the same thing, when Tristan was in, we would have been just as aggressive. It's just, I think, in respect to the receivers and to what they thought, Tristan could do passing. But again, like you said, that's what makes us special. Any way we got to do it, we can get it done, and we're willing to do it that way.
Well, last two, Freedom, we could talk with you all day. I'm sure we'll follow up here at some point in the offseason to look at the 2024 Freedom Eagles, probably 2025 too. But Coach, you have a lot of unsung heroes on this team. You have certainly some marquee names that we've talked about with Preston, who's committed to Clemson. Jeff's got a slew of offers, and that list is only going to grow, obviously. I know we got Ohio State here in the last week. And some others that are returning for you. But kind of shout out for me some of the seniors you can, some of the unsung heroes, the guys that you will lose, where they might be headed to college and what they've meant to your team. Because on defense alone, the Jewel Harrises, the Isaiah Harpers, the E.J. Reeds, not enough guys probably get enough of the limelight. And you mentioned some of those blockers up front, like the Fugas and whose older brother was a stud for you guys. And obviously we talked about Walter Hughes. They are a key, reason why you've won back-to-back here and been so strong and dominant these last 2 years.
I mean, absolutely. One of my guys, Ticket, man, number 8, Jewel Harris, we're going to miss him, man. He's been dominant the last 2 years. Just last year, TJ was doing it as well, man. Not just what he brings to the game every week, his energy, but just miss having him around. As a coach, sometimes you need kids that make you laugh and, make lightning move for everybody. And Ticket, Jewel Harris has been that. Like you said, other guys that don't get some of the shine. We got a guy, Raymond Rodriguez, who played in this game, number 21, man, just a kid that done everything we asked him for 4 years. It was never a me guy. It's always about everybody else. The things he does for us on special teams. I don't feel like EJ is unsung, man. EJ has earned everything he got. But if I had to, those guys stepped in and filled some big shoes. And Kelly Timone, our nose guard, juggernaut, man, first-year starter, turned out to be a really good ball player for us. And Aaron Duncan, unfortunately, got hurt in the final, but I thought he had really elevated his game on the defensive side of the ball throughout the playoffs. The rest of the guys, man, Tristan, Courtney, EJ, man, they do what they always do. Walter, Big Juju, man, they are who they are for a reason. And that's because they always show up.
Well, you definitely win a lot of ball games and keep churning guys out to the next level, whether it's the TJ Bush to Liberty, Kendall Bannister to an Ohio, EJ Reed to Wake Forest, and you got obviously some guys coming back, some more that we moving on to the next level. So to finish up with you, what's next for you? How are you going to spend your off season, your winter, your holiday time, as you prepare for the spring and then the gearing up for the 2024 season? I know the conversations and debates and discussions will rage on. Is this Freedom team the best team? Is it better than 2022? And can 2024 be better than 2022 and 2023? So what's your answers to all those things that get posed your way, and how will you spend the holidays as you bask in the glory? But that the off season, there's really not a long off season the way you guys have to work, right?
Yeah, and there's no offseason for me because I got girls basketball. But, again, I told it before, this team did some things better than last year's team. Again, like you said, I know the points weren't there, but that's because, again, we had 3 games where they were running the clock in the second quarter. You know what I mean? So we really were limited in time and what we could do at times. But this group, I told them once they won again, they got to go down as the best. I thought this year for sure we had more depth than we had last year on both sides of the ball. I'm not going to put the pressure on the guys yet about being better than this group. This senior group has done something that's phenomenal. There's a lot to live up to. I hope that it trickles down throughout our program and that we have this opportunity again. But again, man, like you said, they've done something special. It's amazing to watch them do it. But like you said, we'll be right back at it after the winter break, lifting, doing all the things we have to do. Some guys came. We went down there and played that great Thomasdale girls basketball team, and some guys from Highland Springs was there just to make sure they saw me get my butt whooped at something. And they told me, but we laughed about it and joked. So, we on the basketball, on to, getting all the recruiting stuff done and, looking forward to gearing it up again.
Well, it's funny because I'm sure I lied on one sense. I didn't mean to lie to you, but I have one more thing to bring up to you. You are double duty as girls basketball coach too at Freedom, so you're a busy man in the winter, like I am. The overlap, which drives me crazy. We need to. I'm a big believer, Coach, on how you feel about it. And this is, I don't know how we would tweak with the playoffs. Maybe you start a week earlier, you get rid of the buys or something. I don't like going to 4. I think 6 is the right number as opposed to 8 per regions. You give the 1 and 2 seeds buys because it gives you a bye week, gives you something to play for to get a top 2 seed in your region. But I would like to see us end on Thanksgiving weekend. It gives us more time for basketball. We don't have to do all this overlap and you figure out the winter and spring schedules right. But I'm going to get asked this question, so I'll pose it to you here because I know the schedules are set for next year. But everybody's going to say they always want to see a tournament of champions in basketball or in football. Take your top 6 classes. So everybody's going to say who wins the epic Maury Freedom matchup. I know you guys probably can't play next year. Perhaps you can in the next cycle, but something perhaps you guys could discuss or be open to for a scrimmage in the future, dare we say? Is that something you want to address or comment on? Or
Yeah, absolutely, man. What people don't know, we actually, our staffs, me and Coach Parker and Coach Preve are actually good friends. We talked this week, up to the state championship. You know what I mean? Okay. I reached out to them. They answered last year. We tried to make a game happen.
Oh, I think we lost you for a second, Coach. Hang tight.
All right,
we're back. Go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
What people don't know is me, Coach Parker, Coach Bree. We even talked the week of the state championship, man. There's some friends that I gained in this profession this year. I reached out to them about playing last year, and they did answer back. The dates just didn't work.
Sure.
So if it's something we can do, I would like to set up, and you can help me, man. Like that second scrimmage, have like all the good teams from 757, North Virginia, and just do something where it's that second scrimmage like a game.
Well, listen, we do our podcast from the Plex. How about I'll put it out here for all the public to comment on this. We could do like a little jamboree scrimmage day it could be at the Sportsplex wherever across Hampton Roads or any location. It can be 757 or beyond, but do it and maybe we'll figure out some kind of proceed charity thing that can go to not just the programs that are involved, but some charity out there as well. We could figure out something that'd be a good cause in addition to just letting these kids get to play against good competition, good little friendly event. So it's something I'd like to see like us do with our Virginia Preps basketball classic. Unfortunately for football, you can't really do that as much because it's hard with the schedules being locked in, but it'd be cool to see something like that happen.
Absolutely, man. I'm willing and want to set something up for sure. Something you talk about, but again, like you said, again, great teams, great matchups. I said it all the time. It doesn't matter if you class 6, 5, 4, 3, maybe 2 and 1 sometime. Mm-hmm. The best teams are the best teams. You know what I mean? Some of those guys are lower classification than us, but they got more players than us. That's just our school demographic. We're Division 6 based on the numbers in the school, but we only pull from a third of our, enrollment. So the best teams are the best teams. Again, so it's always going to be that competitive nature. They want to find out who people are going to compare, but I'm the same way, but it's a mutual respect, man, between me, the Maury coaches, Coach Blunt at Phoebus, even me and him had some conversations this year. It's a mutual respect, man, to all the guys doing it at a high level.
Absolutely. Well, awesome job by you and your program, your staff and players and everybody there. I know the Freedom-Woodbridge community is so excited to go back-to-back, 29 straight wins and counting for Coach Overton's Eagles, who are soaring to new heights, back-to-back state championships. They beat Madison at ODU in 2022, and they finished it up here in 2023 with a victory over Highland Springs at UVA. Happy holidays to you, Coach, and a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'm sure we'll catch up in 2024. Go enjoy the celebration in the rings and everything as you bask in the glory before the season starts for football, and I know you got basketball that'll keep you mighty busy, so enjoy it.
Again, I appreciate you. Everything you do, supporting those athletes everywhere. Anybody watching this, man, support the kids. Go like, subscribe to everything Mr. Hatfield got going on. He's been doing it. for a long time for our kids, man. Go like, subscribe, send it to family members, run the numbers up.
There you go. Thank you so much, Coach. The check's in the mail. I'm only joking about that part. I wish I could give you a check in the mail. And happy holidays to you, and we'll catch up again soon.
All right, brother.
That's Coach Darryl Overton of the Freedom Eagles. We'll come back, take a time out here and hear from some of our sponsors at the Plex. You're watching On the Hash with Hatfield. Stay tuned. More to come.